The other movie I saw was Lincoln,
Right.
the new Spielberg movie about Abraham Lincoln. Now, I've always had an issue with Spielberg because he tends to be pretty heavy-handed in a lot of ways. Saving Private Ryan in particular, like, was filled with amazing scenes, but there were also a lot of scenes where it was like the characters would just stop and pause and look directly at you in the audience and tell you exactly what this scene is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, all these characters are, you know, experiencing this thing. And in a really great movie, it sort of shows you the scene and gives you an impression of
Sure.
what you're supposed to be feeling. Saving Private Ryan.
We should name that. I think
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's just sort of like that effect where the movie just lingers a little too long, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of like this is the epic shot that everyone
Yeah.
will or should remember
Yeah.
from this movie, and this is going to be the thing that
Yeah.
tells people what they need to know.
Well, and the most egregious example in Private Ryan, but it happened like 4 or 5 times in that movie, was when they meet up with this guy who they're at a plane crash, and the guy is like, oh, well, the general was worried that he was going to get shot, so he had them weld a massive steel plate under the plane, and it couldn't take off, and it crashed. Why would they do all of that for just one man?
Right.
And it was like, really? Does that maybe mirror another plot in the movie somewhere? It's like, that could have been the tagline for the movie, and it's like there's a character literally saying it. So I was worried that Spielberg was going to be doing that this whole movie. And this movie Lincoln starts out with probably the worst scene of the entire year.
Really?
Yeah. So Abraham Lincoln is talking to two black soldiers during the Civil War. It's like he's giving a speech or something, and he's hanging around before the soldiers go off to their next battle or whatever. And these two soldiers are talking to him, and it sort of starts off as like a nice conversation. You're like, okay, I'm with you. And then 2 other soldiers come up, and they're saying, oh, wow, Mr. Lincoln, that speech you gave at that battle, was it Gettysburg? It was so great. And then they literally, the soldiers, regular soldiers, not like congressmen, not people in college, they start reciting the speech to him. And then they were like, oh, what's the next line? And then the black soldiers start reciting the speech from there. And it's like, this isn't a Beatles song.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
There was no mass. I mean, maybe there's historians who listen to the show who can correct me. Was this printed on the back of every cereal box in the 1800s? Like, what? I did not buy that at all. And I was literally like, if this keeps going, I might have to walk out.
I mean, from my point of view of history, it wasn't like it was the greatest thing.
Yeah.
People probably didn't realize how great that was, until history kind of moved forward.
Yeah.
That seems, okay, I see that. Seems rather...
But it got better.
Okay.
It got much better. What it covered was the passing of... Oh, gosh, I'm going to sound dumb now. I think the 13th Amendment, the one that banned slavery.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure it was the 13th, but maybe it was the 16th. I can't... I saw it like 3 days ago, and I can't remember.
So you don't know what the 14th or 15th one is? They're in there somewhere.
Yeah. They do.
I'm not going to try to tell you one way or the other.
I'm pretty sure it was the 13th. But anyways, it covers the passage of the 13th Amendment. Like, the Civil War is sort of winding down. It's January of 1865, and Lincoln has just gotten his second term. He's just been reelected. Right. And so he wants to try to get the 13th Amendment through before the new Congress comes in.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is a common political tactic now. Apparently pretty common back then as well, because he wants all these lame duck people
to do his bidding.
Exactly. It's like, you're going away. You don't have any stake in this. You've already lost this, so just vote for my thing and then go. So that's really what it is. It's a political story. It's like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington,
right? Except
with Lincoln.
Yeah.
So it's a guy trying to pass a bill. That's the whole movie. And it's amazing at that. And I thought that took a lot of guts for Spielberg to do that, and that's what I really loved about it. It was a part of history that has not been dramatized to death. It's not
like the assassination of Lincoln.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. But it's this little chunk of history that really does a good job of encapsulating what was important at the time, and doesn't worry too much about everything else. There's no great Civil War battle in this. You see a lot of soldiers, but just because there would have been a lot of soldiers walking around. They talk about the war a lot, but you never see the war. So that I really liked. Daniel Day-Lewis, it's almost a cliche how great he is. Like, I think I don't see how anyone else could win the Oscar for Best Actor unless people are just so tired of how great he is. Like when Michael Jordan stopped winning MVP awards, just even though he was clearly the best player, just because people were like, I just want to vote for somebody else, just anyone else. But he's just so brilliant. The only way it could have been better is if you had a hidden camera in 1865 in Lincoln's house, in the White House. That's the only way it could have been any more realistic. I'm totally convinced that he just embodied Abraham Lincoln. You know, everything I've read about him, everything I've heard about him, he just put it on screen.
Kind of makes you wonder if they ever do a movie about Daniel Day-Lewis, who could play him, like, in the future.
No one.
Exactly, yeah.
That person does not exist. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in this as well.
Yeah.
He played Abraham Lincoln's son. It's sort of a small part, but important, and a good role. Sally Field, I've heard a lot of people saying how great she was. She was fine, but that wasn't the part of the movie.
Sure.
It's like every time it sort of started to focus on her, I was just like, I don't want to see that. I want to see the other stuff.
Tommy Lee Jones, is he all right in this?
Oh, he's amazing.
Okay, because every time I saw him in the trailer, I got pulled out of it. Like, it was just like Tommy Lee. I don't know. Maybe I see him in too many like insurance commercials now or something, just being Tommy Lee Jones. So I was kind of worried. I
mean,
about that.
This is another one of those things. Like, you know, if Soderbergh comes calling you, go do it. If Spielberg comes calling you, go do it. There's a lot of really well-known actors in this. That is one sort of downside of the movie, though. It works a little too hard to kind of give everyone like their hero shot, like their introduction shot. So like there's these three guys who play sort of the backroom dealers that are going to try to go behind the scenes and convince these people to vote for the bill that are going out. And so one of them is played by James Spader, one of them is played by John Hawkins, and the third guy, I can't remember his name. He was in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I think I know.
He was the third guy in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I can't remember his name.
I can't either.
He has a smaller part in this, but he's one of those three guys. And the way it introduces them to us is David Strathairn plays William Seward, and he's great as well. But it's like the back of his head, you can't see anyone, and then it sort of pans over, and then, oh, there's James Spader, and then it pans over a little more. It's like, oh, there's John Hawkins, and then it pans over a little more. It's like, oh, there's that other guy that I've seen in other stuff. I can't remember his name.
The way you're describing it makes me think of like Ocean's 11.
It is a little bit like that.
Like they got to get their team together.
Yeah,
these are the guys.
It is kind of like that. It is kind of like that. But James Spader really should get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He's really, really good. He's out. I mean, it's almost unfair because Tommy Lee Jones is amazing. Yeah. I think he could definitely get a nomination. David Strathairn is amazing, but his part is a little smaller. But I really think James Spader just jumps right off the screen like he does in everything. But he's really built for this kind of role because it's sort of like he's serious. He's doing his job, but at the same time he's hilarious. So it's like some much needed sort of
he tends to
comic relief.
He tends to do that with his acting. As of the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. So a really good movie. It's definitely worth seeing. Just that first scene is just sort of like, oh, come on.
So if you arrive late, it's not the end of the world.
If you get there 5 minutes late, you'll love it. It'll be the best movie of the year. The one thing that bugged me is at the end, I think it went a little too long. Like Spielberg just couldn't resist leaving the cameras rolling up until the assassination.
Like AI?
Yeah. I mean, I really think that if the movie had just
it's that kind of his tendency these days is to kind of just roll a lot of footage, and it's just kind of like finding that nice ending.
Yeah. And this might seem like a spoiler, but it's history. It's all based on history. So
everyone dies.
We don't have slavery, so he passes the amendment, right? Okay. So I really felt like, it would have taken a lot of guts, and I would have loved it if right after they passed the 13th Amendment, he was like, there's a scene where everyone's celebrating and happy and like, oh, this is going to be the best next 4 years ever. Credits. I think that would have been amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But it kept going.
Yeah.
And it covered...
was there like a celebration?
There was kind of like a Well, it kind of uses it kind of jump cuts to the April to the Ford Theater, but it doesn't like show the assassination or like do any sort of like, oh, what's going to happen?
Right,
There's this guy, he's got a gun, who knows what's going to happen? What it does really interestingly, I won't spoil that much. I really liked the way he sort of introduced.
If he's going to do it,
yeah,
he might as well.
He found an interesting way to do it.
Okay, but it wasn't necessary.
I don't think it was necessary because again, we all know what happens.
Sure,
we all know what happens.
Yeah, and it's been dramatized to death on like the History Channel, especially.
Exactly. But overall, big thumbs up.
Okay.
I really liked it. I haven't really loved most of what Spielberg's done in the last 10 years, but this is definitely one to see. Definitely a good one to see.
He's been working on it for about that long too. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was just so distracted at trying to get this all figured out behind the scenes that maybe his next movie will just be even better.
Yeah, maybe so. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.